pictures scraped from the internet. Companies like Clearview AI have built massive facial recognition systems by collecting over 30 billion photos from sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, and even YouTube. Once they find a match, it has been used by law enforcement to try to link a potential suspect to crimes ranging from shoplifting to In this video, I'm revealing how this flawed AI system of facial recognition software is ruining innocent lives and what you can do to protect yourself. Let's start with the basics. Facial recognition technology. It's everywhere, from unlocking your smartphone to speeding through airport security. The twist here is that police departments are now using the same AI to pull up images of people on social media to identify them and try to link them to a potential crime. In fact, police officers are routinely pulling images from social media platforms without those people's consent. Here's how it works. Police feed images, like a photo from your Instagram, into powerful databases that contain billions of pictures scraped from the internet. Companies like Clearview AI have built massive facial recognition systems by collecting over 30 billion photos from sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, and even YouTube. Once they find a match, it has been used by law enforcement to try to link a potential suspect to crimes ranging.
You know the drill, troopers. Lock and load.
In some cases, this match becomes the sole basis for a warrant, even though it's been well established that this facial recognition technology is
payload is on the ground. Vulture 1 is returning to the
In November of 2022, he was pulled over for a traffic stop, and he was arrested supposedly for stealing designer handbags in Louisiana. The kicker? Randall had never even been to Louisiana. The entire arrest was based upon...
We got drones and we got a lot of them! Information slide!
For 6 days, Randall sat in a humiliated, scared, unsure how to prove his innocence when he knew he had done nothing wrong. Even more terrifying, the actual warrant for Randall's arrest never even mentioned that the cops based all of their so-called probable cause off of an actual facial recognition software. Take a moment to think about that. Technology that was designed to be smart, accurate, and fair is now making life-altering mistakes. And unfortunately, the studies show that both the For example, Robert Williams, a black man in Detroit, was arrested for allegedly stealing $3,600 worth of watches. The evidence? A grainy surveillance photo.
Warrior Bug!
Supposedly
No step!
matched
Just a
to
no
his
step!
driver's license photo.
Killing Warrior Bug
Facial
brings me
recognition
joy.
technology. Here's the kicker. Robert had a rock-solid alibi. He was 50 miles away from the scene, and he was live streaming on Instagram.
Hell yeah!
Then there's Michael Oliver, who was misidentified and arrested for supposedly breaking someone's smartphone. And what about Niger Parks, who was wrongfully arrested for supposedly
By the numbers, people. Your eyes open.
Man, if you look at his case, you'll find he even decided to plead guilty because he was afraid of what would happen if he took his case to trial. What do these cases all have in common?
Gunners, move to cover now! Pew pew's in!
In cities all over the world. So because this technology, number one, is biased. Studies have shown that most facial recognition software studies also show significant Asian and indigenous very often police officers have very low resolution or grainy photos as the basis of trying to match. Not surprising, it's not reliable. Number 3, human error. Even if AI makes a positive match, a human must actually review it and confirm whether it's true. And as many of us already know, humans are very bad at positively identifying unfamiliar faces. And number 4 is police over-rely on this technology. Look, cops could use so many other investigating tools here, other than just what a facial recognition result might give them, as a basis to confirm whether or not this is the right suspect, or maybe they have the wrong guy. And if it isn't bad enough, here's where it gets much more troubling. There's virtually no oversight for police departments using this technology. The main reason is because police officers can use facial recognition tell you or the court. In fact, police departments admit to using this facial recognition software on everyone. Victims, witnesses, suspects, you name it. And here's the crazy thing.
Game on, everyone! Warrior bucks are coming in hot!
Privacy and technology.
Shoot
The
the
police
stab!
have used someone liking a suspect's photo on Instagram as a, quote, basis to believe they are a witness to the crime. So now that we know how to see this technology everywhere, the real big legal question is it reliable to use someone in court? The real problem with
I got gunners! Take cover!
Take
cover and steady your aim!
On the subjective
Reloading!
opinion of a human being looking at what the software provides as a possible match and deciding whether it actually is a match. But wait,
This
if
spot,
the
let's go.
technology screws up, can't the investigator just double check it? Unfortunately, it's not always that easy. Because how the hell is a human being's subjective judgment in being able to determine whether or not there's an error? There is a wealth of overall psychology
Cover me,
research
reloading!
that definitively shows that humans are just not very good at identifying unfamiliar faces. Here's the scary part. Error rates for facial recognition software technology range for as low as 10% as high as over 60%. And there are several factors that play into the accuracy levels here. Number one, the couple of things that are mentioned is the image quality. We talked about that a minute ago. If the image that's being compared into the database is not high quality, you're going to get a much lower probability of the result that's reliable. The next thing is the pose variability. Think about it. If someone's posed at one particular angle,
Stay
it
frosty,
might look like someone else. So it depends on the angle. of the
Troopers,
person.
let's show these dirty bugs what the SOT is made of.
Guard! Guard!
You might have one person that's very similar to someone else with an age difference.
Bug spotted!
Error rates were as high as
Changing mag! I won't miss Agony!
Squad leader!
You have high quality images and everybody's standing in the same pose. But what if you have a little bit different pose, or what if you have a lower image quality? Those error rates can easily double. But wait, experienced cops must be better at identifying suspects than ordinary people, right? Think again. Studies have shown that experience with forensic face identification still is not enough to establish the crime. In fact, unless a police officer receives specific specialized training, officers are just as likely to misidentify someone as any other person out there. There was a study done back in 1999.
Time to head back
It
to
actually took
Valaka
20
and help
police
set up
officers
the ore
with an average
refinery
of
for the mine.
13 and a half years of experience doing exactly this type of investigative work. And they showed them low quality images and tried to compare them to other people in order to make a suspect match. Here's what they found. They found, quote, that the officers performed as poorly as a group of college students unfamiliar with how the process works. So in other words, they did just as bad as college students did, and their experience and what they had spent out on the field for 13 and a half years did not help them in finding the right person. Okay, I've spent a ton of time talking about this technology is not reliable, but what about it being constitutional? Here, it poses an actual constitutional crisis. The Fourth Amendment protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures. But when you talk about facial recognition software, it allows the police to conduct mass surveillance with zero accountability. It's not just suspects being targeted here. There are many cases where the police have actually flagged a bystander or a witness because they appeared in the background of a photo. Think about that for a second. Your privacy, your movements, all of your social media could be used against you without any of your knowledge, and you're completely innocent. So the question here is, how is it that police are able to legally get away with this? Notice the three cases that are on the screen right now.
Who polices the
All
police?
three of these cases ruled that facial recognition software is not reliable enough to either convict someone or to exonerate someone. In fact, there's also nearly universal agreement that facial recognition software does not provide probable cause to either arrest you or to use the evidence gathered from
Troopers,
it in court.
let's get this
against you.
refinery
In fact,
up on the
police
bounce.
claim that facial
Copy,
recognition
squad leader.
software
Hey, boss.
only
Track map
generates
is buzzing.
investigative leads, not positive identification.
This spot, let's go!
Payload is on the ground. Vulture 1 is returning to the guard.
Facial recognition software is not being used. In fact, actually using these so-called investigative leads to establish probable cause by using very sketchy corroborating evidence to use it as a basis to arrest people.
Game on, everyone! Warrior buffs are coming in hot!
Delivering grenade!
Facial recognition software. Wrongful arrest or right. In reality, it doesn't. In fact, many times the so-called corroborating evidence is merely the same officer who ran the database. You look up and say, yeah, that's the same guy. So as a result, many people are still being arrested based upon facial recognition software hits alone. In fact, in a number of cases across multiple jurisdictions, people have found themselves arrested, sitting in jail, facing serious criminal charges based upon only a facial Police departments give assurances that this never happened. But in one of the instances where a man was wrongfully arrested, misidentified by facial recognition software, the actual facial recognition
Reloading!
hit, lead, was sent to the detective with the disclaimer at the top of it that said this, quote, "This document is not a positive identification. It is an investigation lead only and is not probable cause for arrest. Further investigation is needed to develop probable cause to arrest." So how can the police come up with this so-called corroborating evidence to allow people to still be arrested by facial recognition software? A classic example of this is the case of Robert Williams. In fact, Robert Williams was arrested in Detroit wrongfully in 2020 based upon a facial recognition software hit matched with a photo array. And then they showed it to a witness that was not even present at the scene at the time. My favorite, though, has to be the 2018 famous NYPD soft theft case. In that situation, the police thought they knew for sure who it was because there was a facial recognition software hit. It was a match that came back, and instead of doing what cops are supposed to do, which is to put up a photo array of multiple people to compare what this hit would be listed against other possible suspects, instead they sent one photo as a text with suggestive text to the witness underneath it, basically insinuating it had to be this guy because of the facial recognition software match. And of course, that was enough for them to corroborate that this particular guy should be arrested. Here's the worst part. Police departments are not keeping track on when and how often facial recognition software is being used to determine whether someone should be a suspect. So we've already identified several examples of widespread use where when it is being used, it's not always being used properly.
Take cover!
It's being used
Gunners
as
ahead!
That's
You
a
this!
good sign. So for all we know, this facial recognition software misidentified people all over the country. I don't like people snooping on my social media. And if you want ultimate privacy from the government and other bad actors when it comes to your data. This is precisely why I use NordVPN to provide me the ultimate solution to both privacy and 2-year plan. What about the good police officers out there who are going to use facial recognition software? And then they're going to do everything they can
Get the refinery up and running!
That result
Hey, so like,
so that
when did we become minors?
proper arrest. Here's the problem. If you go and you take a look at all the manuals that are out there, and almost every police department is not actually addressing what is sufficient corroborating evidence. In other words, what might be sufficient corroboration for you might be completely different for someone else.
Well, there's
There's
things
no
this
standard.
And they optimize the world too.
It's no surprise that with very little training, police officers are obtaining warrants to arrest people based upon information that is really not independent from the facial recognition software match. For example, in Willie Allen Lynch's case, the undercover officers who then requested the facial recognition software
Refinery activated.
Hey, that's the same guy. They believe that was corroborating evidence and they need it. In fact, those same officers pulled a prior mugshot. They looked at it and compared it to the facial recognition software and they said, oh, this has got to be the same guy.
Resources ready.
Officers were In that particular case, there were independent witnesses that were made aware that a facial recognition software search came back, and at no time did those officers take the time to sit down with those independent witnesses.
Battery activated.
Sufficient evidence, it has actually insulated the entire process. Now, there are innocent people being arrested because of lazy facial recognition.
Vidja, TACMAP has been updated.
And
Resources ready.
facial recognition software leads as merely an investigative tool and not the basis for probable cause. They are not disclosing to either the judge they are taking the warrant from, or from the defense attorney who they're now bringing the charges against this person and as counsel. They're not disclosing to them that the basis for their probable cause was based off this investigative lead from facial recognition software. They've essentially created this beta where they feel like they don't have to disclose this information, and they believe it's not required under Brady versus Maryland. Imagine being wrongfully arrested, and your identity is based upon a so-called photo match, where the police never actually tell your lawyer that the whole basis for this was based on facial recognition software, so you're not even able to contest it or argue that it's unreliable because the actual state failed to inform you of it, all under the guise that it's merely an investigative lead. Here's the crazy part. There have been many people wrongfully arrested under facial recognition software evidence alone. And judges have had no problem signing off on probable cause warrants, even though that is not supposed to be solely the basis for probable cause. So we already know that multiple judges across many jurisdictions have signed off on arrest warrants based upon nothing other than facial recognition software evidence, even though we know how unreliable it is. So it's really only a matter of time before a prosecutor chooses to stand up in court and take facial recognition software, even though we all know it's scientifically unreliable, and attempt to use it as substantive evidence to convict
I may have
someone
to leave the
by
country
establishing
before
identity.
I fall a victim to that.
If this goes into effect where a judge
The kind of luck I
actually
have with
accepts
the
this and
government
claims it's
is
scientifically
not good.
Imagine now, it's the Wild West for the police. They have no standards to establish what actual corroboration is. They could use themselves. They could just look at it and claim that's sufficient corroboration. And now you're going to open up the floodgates. Notice what's going on out there in social media now. It doesn't take much for someone to create a deep fake of you. They can go to any one of these, HeyGen, they can go to all these other type of online providers and easily set up an AI avatar of you. And then what if they post something on there? And what if that is somehow tied to something that the police pull off that they believe is now tied to you being at the scene of a crime or you being involved in a crime? And they don't have to have any true independent corroboration. Understand how dangerous this is.
We got
How
drones and we
everyone's
got a lot of them.
rights and their
Oh,
rights
great!
are we must address this issue. So what happens next? The Supreme Court must finally take up this issue and once and for all rule that facial recognition software technology is unreliable and cannot be used in any capacity in criminal investigations. Particularly,
Yeah,
when we
AI is so
understand how
beta
artificial
right now.
intelligence can make it so easy for
I'll
someone
call
to
Matilda
clone
in a minute.
who you
We'll have a
are
chat.
and put you at the scene of something you had nothing to do with. Not to mention,
It
we've
does
already
seem-
established this technology
Check it in,
is
troopers.
unreliable.
You're
There
on
are
the
no
clock.
safeguards
Yes,
to
yes,
prevent
sir.
error because the actual technology is inherently unreliable. You combine that with you have to have a police officer verify that technology in order for it to be corroborated.
It'll
and
be
there's
better
no
than real people someday, but right now it's
corroboration is needed in order to be fair and constitutional. Despite everything we discussed,
Vital signs indicated.
essentially what he's done is made this shot. He's taken all of these billions of images. He served them up to the police. No warrant required. Privacy violated for millions and millions of Americans. So they could just feed it into this machine and it spits something out. And then the police believe it almost every single time. When you couple this with the fact that police are very poor, just like all witnesses are very poor, at making positive identifications with faces they don't recognize, it's a recipe for disaster. In fact, this reminds me of a recent case, a man by the name Sidney Holmes. He spent more than 30 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. In fact, when you look at it, he was exonerated after prosecutors determined that he was
Warrior Bot!
misidentified
Kill 'em
by a
all!
witness in a lie.
Warriors,
And
come
according
out
to
and
the
play!
Innocence Project, Eyewitness misidentifications is the leading cause of wrongful convictions in America. So what can be done here? Here are the 4 critical steps you need to take and what you can do to exercise your rights. Number 1, the United States Supreme Court must rule on the use of this technology and find that it violates our 4th Amendment rights. Otherwise, we will continue to see this technology abused by law enforcement. Number 2, we must demand transparency. The police should be required to disclose when facial recognition technology is being used in an investigation so that it can be shared. Number 3, we must ensure when this technology can be used, and we must put very specific guidelines as to what is substantial. Finally, arrested, exercise your right to remain silent and your right to an attorney. And finally, how can you protect your rights? Number 1, think before you post. The moment you share anything on social media platform, it's
I'm proud of you, squad. Great work.
Copy that, squad leader.
Against you, maybe it's better to not post. Number 2, adjust your privacy settings. Lock down your settings on your social media. Be careful who you allow in as a friend, and make sure you're really safeguarding exactly what information you share through any private instant messaging or any other type of posts. And finally, exercise your rights. The police officer never shows up and starts asking you questions about some type of post they saw online, and they want to know exactly what you meant by something. Or if they're trying to say, do you know this man that I see you standing next to in this picture? If anything like that were to ever happen, can I tell you they're not there because they're interested in your social media profile. They're there in order to try to tie you investigatively as being either some type of witness or maybe even the
Our reserves of value gas are running dry.
So you should say, officer, I exercise my rights. I will only answer questions that you ask. And then remain silent. Facial recognition technology is powerful. Without accountability, it's dangerous. It has already been shown to erode our privacy, allow it to continue to be used as an investigative tool to eliminate trace of injustices. Speaking of powerful technology, did you know that cops have technology that allow them to see through the walls of the system? Check out this next video where I break it all down and the 1 step you can take right now.
Yeah, this thing that I forgot to get that I was planning on getting, since that side of the house is all probably doesn't matter with this stuff, but there's this LED panel. It's about this big, like $80, $100, and you plug them in, you can't even see the frequency that they broadcast on. It really can't, it doesn't look like anything. I put it right here in the sunroom. If anyone that tries to look through a window with any type of night vision device, all they see is like looking directly at the sun. Windows sun. A hot damn thing. Technology loves you.
Responders to be able to detect people like you and me standing or sitting behind a wall from a distance as far as a football field. In this video, we will break down how this technology works, how the cops are using it, and whether or not it's legal for the cops to use it to potentially invade your privacy. The last thing any of us want is for police to be able to use new technology that allows them to snoop on us in our homes from more than 100 yards away. In fact, if you wait around to the end of this video, I'll show you the countermeasures that can be used to avoid being compromised by this police technology. So how does all this work? The name of the institute is the Budget Saver. Saver is an instrument set up in this video photography equipment set up on a tripod that can be put up, taken down in just a few seconds. It also comes with a handheld option. Once set up, Saver allows cops to see through walls from a distance as far away as a football field. Imagine cops pulling up to a house. But when I say pulling up a full football field away from this equipment, and as they do so, they're able to see from 100 yards away who is in the house, how many people are in the house, the proximity of each person to one another, and exactly the direction each person is walking. In fact, it's so precise, this type of device can actually detect live locals, live objects, or the determinants actually happening in real time behind the wall. For example, let's say somebody's grabbing something in their pocket. As they grab it, they pop it. This device will allow police to actually be able to see this individual grabbing something in their pocket and pulling it out in order to hand it to someone. So how are the cops able to control this very powerful technology? This technology comes with a tablet that is actually tied into artificial intelligence, so that as the police are watching someone behind the walls, AI is actually providing interpretive data so that the police can draw conclusions from what's going on behind that wall, and then it can actually record in real time what is taking place and take still photos so that this information could be used as evidence. You say, why was it set up this way? Because this technology, in many ways, was specifically designed for law enforcement. And there were mechanisms built into the technology that would allow police to be able to record and create still high-quality photos while they're doing their criminal investigations. Now, we have actually seen technology similar to this, but not as advanced, known as range R. Although courts have not ruled on the use of Xavier without a warrant, we have seen range R technology, which is a much less impressive type of technology that has been used by police for similar type of criminal investigations. Range R has been used as recently as 2015, and it's used by police to determine if human life is inside a building. The main difference between range R technology and Xavier is that range R technology requires the police to hold the device up against the wall to send radar signals through the wall to see if there's human life on the other side. Now with Xavier, you don't have to be up against the wall. You can be as far away as 100 yards and still detect micro movements in life behind the wall. Here is the problem. As I mentioned in the recent video about cell site simulators being used by police to detect crimes, this technology is often used by the police for years without any checks and balances. And the MO, the modus operandi of the police, is to continue to use this technology until the courts find out about it. This is exactly what happened with range R technology. For years, we know at least 50 police agencies were using range R technology to detect if someone was on the other side of a wall in a building, but no one knew that it was being used until a police officer was placed on a witness stand and vigorously cross-examined by a defense attorney during a suppression hearing in a different court. In that case, the police officer admitted that the range R device was, quote, a handheld Doppler device that picks up breathing and movement within a house. In that case, the police were trying to catch a man who had allegedly violated his parole. We have since learned that the FBI and the Marshal Service have been using this exact technology for years with little to no disclosure for public base, and certainly not informing the courts they're using this technology during their criminal investigations. So think about this. We have learned that the FBI and the Marshal Service have been using range R technology since at least 2012, but the courts didn't learn about its existence until 2015. So the real question here is the use of these technologies legal? Unfortunately, the United States Supreme Court has not ruled on police use of either of these technologies, but they did rule on a similar issue back in 2001 in the case known as Kylo versus the United States. In Kylo versus US, the United States Supreme Court ruled that the Constitution bars the police from being able to scan the outside of a home with a thermal imaging device unless they have a warrant. And an interesting footnote, the court actually mentioned that the use of radar technology devices similar to range R technology would apply to this ruling as well. Even more specifically, in 2013, the Supreme Court ruled that they further limited police officers' ability to search even an area outside of your home through the use of a drug device. The reasoning behind this was articulated very well by Justice Scalia based upon the Kylo decision and the Florida versus Jardine decision that the police would have gotten the message and stopped doing all this stuff, right? Nope. Why? Because police generally have qualified immunity for their actions. And as a result of that, many agencies have shown a pattern and practice of only stopping illegal police activities if and when they get caught. For example, in the case of United States versus Denson, a fugitive hunting task force tracked a man by the name of Steve Denson. This was headed up by the U.S. Marshal Service. They tracked this man to a Wichita.
Let's not waste time and get the
allegedly
bayou gas
violating
flowing for the Federation.
Before the
Copy
police
that, SWAT
forced
leader.
his door open, it was exposed
Cut the
during
cheddar.
testimony that Range R technology
Payload is on the ground. Vulture 1 is returning to the guard.
Got the chatter.
on the other side of the wall. The problem, the original officer who conducted the investigation was not transparent in his police report. In fact, the officer's original report said this, quote, "The officers developed reasonable suspicion that Denson was in the residence. But the officer never mentioned that they used
We got
Range R
this.
technology
Keep it
in
tight.
order to determine that
This spot, let's go.
I know he one-shot those little boys.
But they did not have a search
Airtime.
Even though Denson's lawyers tried to have the gun charge thrown out, eventually the 10th
Not
Circuit
liking
Warriors
all
on
that.
the battlefield.
search
Do it,
was
Dust.
also upgraded.
Allow me.
And another problem is, why do courts not hold police accountable when they intentionally omit the use of this type of technology, and then they learn that it was used as part of a search and an arrest? Agents had been using this technology for over 2 years.
Let's get
and
to
no
it.
one knew
Keep
about
all eyes
How
open.
many other people's rights were being violated by the feds, state and local agencies who were using this technology? Maybe a lazy lawyer just took the police report as being the gospel truth. If you don't believe police are sometimes hiding the use of their technology during criminal investigations, check out this email from a Florida sergeant. In this email, this Florida sergeant was asking other officers from a different department to not reveal how they were obtaining evidence during an investigation by using a cell site simulator tool similar to the exact technology I spoke about a few weeks ago, known as Stingray technology. The email specifically said to only mention they obtained the evidence from a confidential source and not through the high-tech tool that they were using. Why? Because the police wanted to protect the identity of this technology so that courts would not learn about it so they could continue to use it unchecked. In fact, William Sorokas, a former supervisor of the Marshal Service, he said that his deputies are not supposed to hide or lie when it comes to the use of high-tech tools, but they are encouraged and told not to tell anyone that they're using this technology so that they can keep it somewhat secret for future criminal investigations. Now look, this technology is not all bad. In fact, when it's used appropriately, first responders can use it to much quicker find someone that may be in a building and they're in distress so that they can locate that body. It can also be used to help free people from a hostage situation. It also has wonderful applications for firefighters looking to try to find a body in a burning building, and it can be used in multiple ways to save lives. But as always, the problem is never the technology. It's always how people choose to use it. In
Misuse
fact,
it.
That is exactly why federal, state, and local authorities should be required to disclose they are using this advanced technology. Whenever they're seeking to obtain a search warrant, they need to put that in their search warrant affidavit, and they should put this in their police report so that they can be held accountable to determine if there are any Fourth Amendment violations when they use them. By doing this, it will help ensure that this technology...
I was at this party once, and we were playing D&D, and the kid across from me, he was, I don't know who he was. I don't think I'd ever seen him before. He ends up
Finery
giving me
ahead.
this
Keep your eyes
dirty
open.
look or something.
Looks like one. Let's
it was
get
a dirty
the
look. So what's going on with you? Because everything you say is so
Squad, it's time to
definite.
dig
Like,
deep.
like
Find that
your
grid,
opinion
and
is the
let's
only one
push
that
through
matters.
this
Like,
together as a
everything you
team.
say sounds like a
Got
question.
that.
Like you're unsure of everything that you are talking about. But I don't call you out on being a wishy-washy little piece of shit. So why are you calling me out for being confident? I'm open to new things, but yeah, when I make a statement, I state the thing that I believe the best. Sometimes I get proven wrong. Most of the time I don't. But I'm okay. I will accept when I am. I will accept wrongness. I'm not one of those people. But yeah, I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. So I say it with confidence. And this poor guy, yeah, we never got to.
Refinery activated.
That's linked.
Resources ready.
These radar technology devices can penetrate almost any wall. In other words, walls that
Squad leader, your objective is now on the tag map.
However, what they cannot penetrate are metal buildings.
Cover
They
me,
cannot
reloading.
penetrate through walls lined with metal or lined with foil. Why? Because metal reflects all the energy from the device. As a result, this technology is completely ineffective with metal buildings or anything with metal lined with the walls. Now, what if instead of snooping on you, check out this next video.
No, but they still do it. Oh shit! I didn't know there was a map. South, right? Should be south at the bottom. So that means I should go this way. Missing woman escapes in jail. Say points fingers at everyone else. 43 minutes. Is she cute enough for 43 minutes? 6 unhinged Forties rest caught on about an hour and a half. Yeah, you're freaking mind. You could pull up. Only my videos last that long with less content. How to stop cops from tricking you while camping. I like camping. Let's see what this is about.
Picture this. It's a warm summer. You're parked at a scenic overlook. Kids are asleep in the back. Stars are shining overhead. You're sitting on a cold train on the line for a long day. When suddenly, bam, a sharp knock at your arm.
Wait, what?
You open the door and there stand 2 officers with flashlights blazing in your face, warning that you have a suspicious activity. They want to search everything. Your fridge is full of groceries, your cabin full of camping gear, even your kid's backpack is stuffed with snacks and toys. You're stunned. You've done nothing wrong, but the cops are acting like you're hiding a meth lab or stolen goods. Your heart is racing.
An RV is a home, not a car. It's a mobile home, not a car. And if I had a problem like that, I'd be like, hey, you know why this is called a mobile home and not a mobile car? Because I have the same rights as I do at home when I'm in my mobile home. It's still my home. I still have the same rights, okay? So, y'all piss off. And then they beat the shit out of me and take me to jail. If they even let me finish my statement.
video, I'm giving you the playbook for how to stop cops from searching your RV.
Okay, shift to sprint control to duck, and I can crawl. Okay, that's cool. Hell, I just can't crawl.
And I'm going to give you the playbook.
This does feel kind of Quake 3-ish compared to Helldivers. Oh.
Is it your vehicle?
That means this is built on that id engine. The id engine, what Quake ran off of, that was, what do they call that thing? It was such a good engine. It's been used for so many games since then. That just, man, id. Doom showed off their engine. Quake 3 showed off their engine. Unreal Tournament showed off their engine. And they just quit making games, and people are just buying licenses to use their engine to make games because it's so good. Oh man, it's probably the most popular game engine in the world, and I can't remember the name of it. The one that Bethesda used for Fallout was it was fantastic. I really liked it. I liked the interface. I liked the gameplay. The feel it was a little clunky, but I mean that game's super old, so at the time it was a little clunky, but it was easily acceptable. It wasn't any clunkier than anything else. It frequently crashed, which it auto-saved every time you did a transition, and you got to pop that F5 button and quick save all the time. When it did a save, after I got out of that save, I'd usually do another save in case that save was corrupted, because that happened too. But anyway, that engine was a really cool engine, but and then the Helldivers 2 is using a whole different engine than it's not the Quake engine, the id engine, and not the Bethesda engine, but I forget what it's called, and it's very interesting. It lets us have 4 people when like Outriders. I could only have 3 in our group, and I loved Outriders. I don't know what engine they used, but that was great. The graphics still look fantastic on that. The gameplay is so smooth. If they're making another one, I hope it's sweet as. They could kind of just get a really good AI and say, hey, see this game right here? Okay, do that again, but different and better. And then, no, not that way. No, that's not better. That's not different. You know, just work it down until the AI comes up with something pretty cool. And then say, hey, I want you to look at this game and make it different and better. And just do that enough times until the AI is trained to make a cool game with a lot of levels and stuff. And it just does it, you know, I don't know, overnight, in a week. I don't know how, if you can get an AI like that. I don't know what kind of processing power you have to run it, if you have to pay for that, or if you, when you get the AI, it comes with all the back-end servers from the people you got it from, or I don't know. I don't even know who to ask. Hopefully I have plot armor. So far, not dead.
Here is the $1,000,000 question that trips up.
You can go 50 years without getting dead. It's not easy.
Considered a vehicle that cops can toss, like a beat-up sedan, or is it considered your home that cops can't get around or into without a search warrant? The answer is a game changer, and here's the wild part.
Oh, we're supposed to
know the answer themselves. I've seen it in courtrooms from Texas to California.
You know what? I'm going to drop this and make a new one.
Officers fumbling and rights being trampled. Under the Fourth Amendment, your home has ironclad protection. Cops either must have a valid search warrant, or they must have some type of exigent circumstance, like an emergency situation, or your consent to get inside. But a car? The Supreme Court's motor vehicle exception says that all cops need is probable cause to get into your car. This exception traces all the way back to
I got pulled over Texas by the highway patrol going from my dad's place to work while he was dying of prostate cancer. I was down there trying to take care of everything.
Resources ready.
I'd love to go talk to them and some of the people that work there again. I've got so many people that I want to look up in the past that probably have no idea, completely forgot my existence, you know, and here I am just being a gnome. What was I going to say? There was so the highway patrol pulled me over, and I'm going down the road, and I'm driving my dad's car. It's a Bonneville SSE, black. It wasn't kept up like it should have been. I mean, he just didn't give a shit about all the weird electronic shit, like the fancy ABS, and it had a bunch of cool shit on it, but that module had gone out, and he just, I don't give a shit. It starts, it runs, gets good gas mileage, and goes fast. Which it did, and it had this heads-up display, and it had a regular speedometer, and I think the speed limit was 65 or 75. Anyway, I'm doing the speed limit. The one down here says I'm going 55, the real speedometer, and the one up there says I'm doing 75, and I'm like, okay, that's probably 65. And I'm like, I'm just gonna call that 65. And I go along, and there's a highway patrolman. So I slow down, I get out of the passing lane, and just start driving as slow as the slowest car on the road. No, that's what a smart person would have done. What I do is I keep going, I take a hit off this pipe. As I'm coming up over a hill, I'm taking the hit on the other side of the hill and put it down as I come up over the hill, but the cop in front of me, I guess, some cops said that they saw me hitting the pipe. I mean, they didn't come right out and say it, but they pulled me over. And, how you doing? Good, how are you? I'm like, all right. What's up? I got you at 81 and a 65 or 75, something like that. Like, no. Well, see, this car's got a real speedometer, it's got a heads-up display, and I just kind of split the difference. And I told him I was in Texas with my dad dying of cancer and stuff, and I just got a job out over in Tyler, you know, about 30 miles out. And I'm just going to work. I'm not late or anything. I'm not in a rush. I just didn't know, but it's good to know. Thank you for letting me know what the speedometer really is. So now I know pretty much what speed I should go, right? And he's like, why do you search your car? And I'm like, why do you need to search my car? He's like, you've got rolling papers on the passenger seat. And I was like, I've got a tin of tobacco right next to them. He's like, that don't matter. That's reasonable suspicion. I'm like, reasonable suspicion is not enough to search my car. You need probable cause. They said, you can do this the easy way or do this the hard way. They didn't have a camera phone back then. I'm like, I don't give you permission to search my car, but I'm not going to stop you if that's what you're going to do. I'm not going to try to stop you. I'm not going to try to stop you. Don't ever act like you'll win against the cops. You might win against the ones that are right there, right now, but then there's all the other million cops, you know? I mean, no one can really do that. But anyway, there you go, all the way through the car, because they knew someone was using binoculars or something that saw me hit this tiny little pipe. It was like a little L, a little metal pipe, one of those cheap ass things you get for $3.99 at the gas pipe or something. Hey, where'd the gas pipe go? That was the headshot my entire life. And now that weed's legal, there's no gas pipe? I need to look into that. Resurrect that icon. I got thrown out of one for saying the word bomb. Well, I knew they'd throw me out if I said the word bomb. I don't think I said the word bomb, but I made some kind of... Oh, I went in there looking for a piss test. I said, do you have anything that'll help me pass the piss test? And he's like, get out! I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you can't talk about breaking the law in here. And, like, this isn't a government job. It's like, get out. So I left, and I went to the gas pipe down, a few miles down the road. And as soon as I walked in the door, the dude's like, get out. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, that dude called me. Get out. Oh, fuck. I found this little independent head shop that got this joint that was supposed to clean my heat, and it didn't. But back when I was looking for jobs, I always kept a little thing of monkey piss, is what it's called. If you Google monkey piss, you'll get it. It's about $25, it's for someone who doesn't have a job and is looking for a job. That's kind of expensive. So buy it while you have a job, because you know you're going to get fired and be looking for another job, and everybody piss tests. So get you some monkey piss and follow the directions. Cannot stress that enough. Follow the directions. And my kid was living with me in Austin, and rather than spend $25 every time I got a job, I gave $20 to my kid, and he gave me a clean piss. And I got it in those bottle bags, like those baby bottles where they're filled with bags, and you fill the bags up and use them once and throw them away, so you never have to worry about weird, dirty nipples and all that shit that fucks with babies, right? It's well, you gotta still worry about the nipples, obviously, I guess, if they're on the end. But the bottle doesn't have to be sterilized and all that. It's they're using these different bags. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And got a piss sample in that, put it in my pants, went in the thing, and when I'm trying to get it out, it crinkled so loud. She probably couldn't hear it in the other room, but it was so crinkly. I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. But it was the right temperature. I had it between my ball sack and my thigh, to get up to temp. Just leave it there for an hour or something, hour or two. I had that one monkey piss in Austin. I had to use it, and I had it on the dash of my car, and I had a black Acura with a black dash. But I stopped at Subway because I got a 6-inch tuna, and I threw it out on the ground on the black asphalt while I was eating my sandwich. Didn't take 10 minutes to eat a 6-inch tuna, right? And I go to pick it up, and it is off the scale. It went from not showing the temperature because it was so cold to not showing the temperature because it's so fucking hot. And I couldn't even put it in my groin, so I turned on the defroster and set it on the vent so the vent would blow on it. And when I get there, it still doesn't. I still can't see the temperature on that little gauge. There's a gauge on the side of the bottle, so you can know when your monkey piss is the right temperature to fake human piss. And what monkey piss is, it's stuff that they use to calibrate piss test machines. It's fake piss to calibrate machines. So it's the perfect solution, which I'm thinking, well, don't want to be too perfect, right? If it's absolutely perfect, and I can make people wonder. No, because they hardly ever get any perfect samples. If they ever get one from you, well, what do you know? It's the first one. Well, we're probably not the first one that used it, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, the chick with the noise, she never said anything about it. Got the job, did the contract. The one with the super hot monkey piss, I put that in my pocket. I didn't even, hopefully it would cool off on the outside of my pants. No, I didn't. I have a sock. I had a sock with a hole in it, and I tied the top of the sock into a knot. And I put that knot on the top of my belt, so that held it in place. And then the little canister thing, it's got a little screw-on lid with one of those little tops that pisses out. I had that sticking through the hole in the sock. It was just this old holy sock. I had this holy sock that I hadn't thrown away yet. I was going to use it to polish shoes or something. But that thing went out the hole, and so I just had it dangling. I didn't have it tucked away to get warm. I had it trying to get cool, and I pull it out. I'm in the bathroom by myself. I'm pissed. And honestly, I could have just sat there for 15 or 30 minutes. Somebody's just like, yeah, I can't pee. However, I just feel so much pressure in situations like that. So I pull it out, and it shows that it's 114 or something like that. And I was like, it's just now starting to hit this. It's cooled down enough to start hitting the little thermo strip that's stuck to the side of the can, to the kind of the bottle, the side of the bottle, and it's. I think it's about 114 or something, and I'm looking at it. After a minute, it's not even 112 yet. I was like, well, maybe if I put it into this bottle over here, when I spray it out, it'll cool down, right? So I do the thing, I squirt it into the thing, and it sounds like this, and if you do it right, you squeeze it kind of gently at first, and you give it a little just steady pressure, and then you back off and give it a little quick at the end. That sounds right, you know? And it's like 110 or something. I got into the other jar, I'm swirling it around. And instead of just swirling around and waiting, I go out there and I give it to the dude. Like, well, maybe a little check here. He has one job, and he did it. You look at it, he's like, 110. He's like, I'll be back in a minute. Like, oh, fuck, he's going to go report me or something. I'm going to be so screwed. And well, he went and did something. He came back 10 minutes later, like, 104? I'm like, yeah, I think I got a fever. And he's like, all right, I'll be back in. He leaves again for another 10 minutes. He comes back and just writes it down. It's like 100, 101 or something. He writes that down, and everything's fine. He didn't rat on me, but I knew when he first looked at it, he's like, this ain't right. I have had 114 temperature twice in my life. Once when I was 14 or something. It was a very weird time in my life. It was like when puberty went into overdrive or something. My dad took us to this wrecking yard. He's talking to the dude, and they won't stop talking about stuff, and it's boring me. And I go get in the car. It's this cloudy day in Dallas, and it was a little chilly. And I just went and laid down in the back seat of the car and took a nap, and I might have been there for an hour or two. Dad doesn't know how long it was that he hadn't seen me, but when he finds out that that's where I decided to spend the last hour or two, he freaked out. He felt my head. I felt hot to him. He goes straight to the doctor. The doctor says 104. He's like, how do you feel? I'm like, fine. I've never felt better. So you have 114.1 temperature. What does that mean? He's like, that means you should be dead. Like, maybe you did it wrong. And he did it again, and it was, did he do it again? I don't remember. If he did it again, I don't remember what it was. I don't think he did, but, never figured out what it was. I mean, how did I get that hot? How was I able to be that hot? I'm not sweating. I'm not feeling, that was the weird thing. My body's internal regulator that turns on that thing, it's like time to start sweating and cool yourself down. That didn't kick in. It wasn't working. So I was just hot. But I didn't feel hot. I wasn't sweaty or anything. And I didn't feel uncomfortable. And I didn't feel dumb. I felt great. I mean, I felt as good as I'd ever felt in my entire life. And I told the doctor that. And he's like, what? He's like, you should be dead. He's like, humans can't. And he just got this weird look on his face and laughed and stuff. And he talked to my dad for a minute and came back, and then he took my temperature and was like, looks normal now. But then about 5 years ago, I had somebody in my front door. It's a butterworth evaporator. What's this? Oh, that's the male person. Alright. in the dog. I had to go sign a thing from the post office saying that, so my dog chases people again. I'll have to go pick up my mail. And, yeah, my dog, well, she's got kind of fast dogs. But she runs up and barks at everyone that comes in the lawn. I'm like, that's her job. She's supposed to be. She's a guard dog. Anybody gets on her property, she knows exactly what it is. Backyard, the front yard, you know the front yard is the gate. She knows which part of the ground belongs to us. And anything that gets on it gets challenged. And that's a good girl. So yeah, when the postman comes onto the property because he's got to go to the mailbox, once he leaves that sidewalk, she's on, you know, and she runs up and barks at this dude, and he stamps his feet, which gets her all excited, and she's all barking, thinking, you know, hey, we're going to play, okay. And then he reaches for his mace, and back then I was really in bad shape. You know, I had heart problems and knee problems, and I might have had to put on some pants or something before I go outside. But anyway, I got there just in time to see him stomping at the dog, and the dog, him reach for his mace. And I walked down the steps, and he was up there. And I said, I don't know what I said. I told him not to do it. Do not spray my dog. And he's like, she tried to bite me. You're a grown man. Or you should, well, you're a grown male person. You should have grown into a man, but apparently you're scared of a 12-pound dachshund who's protecting her territory. Don't they train you anything in the post office anymore? Anyway, the cops and some postal dude came out. I saw him on my ring camera, parked in front of my house, but I put the car in the garage because I didn't want him to be able to run my tag. So I'm watching the ring thing. They never rang the bell. They never came up here. They were waiting for me to come home. For about 45 minutes to an hour, they're waiting for me to come back home. You know, because if I had just gone to the grocery store or something, that's probably so, right? Well, they left, and then when I called to talk to the dog catcher dude, he said, I saw you parked in front of my house yesterday. What's up? Why didn't you knock on the door? And he said, well, we were waiting for you to come home and into your car. I'm like, okay, so why were you there? Because your dog is loose and vicious, and like, it's a dachshund, dude. It's a mini dachshund. It's like, if that dog came at me like that, I'd kick its teeth in. Like, well, you better not come on my property then. You better do that somewhere else. Because I'm just thinking, I'll kick your teeth. You mess with my guard dog on my property, you stomp a little 12-pound dog. She's my best friend. She would die for me. And I have to give her the same respect. I would die for her. So yeah, don't talk about kicking her dog's teeth. Piece of shit. So a couple of months later, I'm on the porch, front porch, screening the porch, doing something, and the person with the mail comes up. And I walk up, maybe I was dicking around in the yard or something. Anyway, I walk up to take the mail from her. I'm like, thank you, being all polite and stuff. But I can't lock my screen door from the outside, and the dog knows that if she pops it, she just paws it like this, it'll pop on the spring and bounce big enough for her to get out. If she does that just right, the timing just right. She's a smart dog. So if she gets the timing just right and pats that thing, it'll pop, pop, and out she comes, barking at the chick. I'm like, I'm sorry, and I reach down to pick up my dog, but I can't because that chick screams and runs into the street without even looking. Like, you're going to run in front of a 4,000-pound car because you're scared of a 12-pound dog. And I knew I was in trouble right then. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to work out. And I go over there, and I get my dog, and she's having the weirdest fit. She won't stop talking. She won't let me talk. She won't let me tell my side. She won't let me say anything. She just keeps running her mouth. And I've noticed that dumb people do this a lot. And it's really frustrating. Like, they're like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm like, then stop arguing with me. I mean, I told you one thing, you told me something different, and I told you why you're wrong, and then you're like, I'm not going to argue with you. No, you already did argue with me, and you lost. That's where we are right now. Let's keep up. Try to keep up. I know it's hard for you. But anyway, I got the dog. I put the dog away. I came back out, and I got in my car because I can hardly stand up. So I'm not going to walk out there. And I pulled my car up behind her car, about a car length behind her car, and parked at a bit of an angle, you know, going out to the street where I'm facing the opposite direction of her minivan, whatever it was. And they do that for a reason, because at that angle I could videotape her with her license plate in her car, because he's going through the back doing her mail thing or whatever. I said, I just want to get your name and badge number, or whatever your ID is, because I got to file a complaint on you. And she pulled out her phone, like, let me get this straight. You are gonna file a complaint on me because you had your dog attack me, and I'm like, no, and she won't shut up. She won't stop talking. I'm like, can I just get your name? And then she's like, and he's blocking me in. It was obviously the back of her. I was behind her car, so you know, and I was a freaking car length behind her car. She could have backed out even towards me. I didn't block either way. And I parked just exactly that way to make sure that she was not blocked in any way, because I had a feeling she was going to do the thing with stuff. And sure enough, there she was. He blocked me in and made me. It's like, I just want your name so I can make a complaint. That's it. Just give me your name. And she just wouldn't shut up. She just kept going on, making shit up, saying I blocked her and saying that I sicked my dog on her. And of course, when she runs across the street, I'm like, you could have got my dog killed because it chased you. I mean, you ran, so it chased. That is the dog. That's what they do. Did your parents not have this discussion with you? Never run from an animal, because you can't outrun them, and if you run, they'll chase you. So it's a lose-lose game running from a dog. No one in their right mind does that. I've had cats that are smart enough to not run from a dog, and the dog's running at them, barking, and the cat just sits there, makes his paw, looks at the dog, and the dog comes to a screeching halt. When it doesn't run, it comes to a screeching halt in front of the cat. And the cat's just like, what? Fantastic. However, this postal person was not as smart as my cat. So then she goes and complains, and then they put a letter on my mailbox. So I take the letter and I write on the back of it a response, you know, and then I put it up on the mailbox, you know, the pick this up thing. There's no stamp on it because it's just going, I just want it to go to the post office here. I'm not sending it anywhere. I just want the mailman that's going to go back to the post office to take it with him and then give it to his boss. That's really all it is. It's got his boss's name on it, the address of the post office in town, and just here. They wouldn't pick it up. Like, you really want me to buy a stamp to send mail from my house to your post office when you're going to the post office anyway, and you're the ones that are making me do this? So after 2 days of them not picking up the thing, I go up to the post office, and the dude makes me sign this thing saying that if my dog chases somebody else, blah, 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 well, you know, I have to go pick up my mail at the post office. They won't deliver it to me. Well, they're still going to walk from that house to that house across the sidewalk in front of my house, and that's my dog that lights her up. But She's tiny. I can't keep her in. She keeps finding ways to escape. It's getting better though. Now that we've been here for 4 or 5 years, I've got pretty much all of it taken care of. She's still getting, right now. The gate's blown over, so I can walk through that. It's a huge hole. I picked it up 4 or 5 times. I have to fix it someday. But I said I want to make a complaint about so and so. You know, I'm like, I don't know. She wouldn't give me her name, but I've got a video of her. And he's like, I saw the video. I'm like, well, you saw her video. Like, well, her video's probably pretty much the same as mine. So we're both video videos. It's like, yeah, she doesn't work here anymore. I'm like, oh. I'm not surprised to hear that. But you're still going to make me sign this? I mean, she's gone, so her complaint should be gone. Because obviously she was not a good employee, so she's no longer an employee, so her complaint shouldn't be valid. Again, her complaint against me should not hold any weight because y'all hired somebody that shouldn't have been doing that job. And he's like, just stop letting your dog out. I'm crippled. I can't catch my dog when she gets out. I don't let her out. She escapes sometimes. I just can't catch her. I said, can you please train your postal workers? If you care about them and their health and their safety, train them to not run away from a dog. They will never outrun any dog, even this one. And I had her sitting on the counter right in front of me. And all the people that are lined up to do shit with the other person in the post office are listening to me talk a lucid argument about why are you making me sign this thing where I have to pick up my mail if my dog chases another male person because the dog is this little and she can't hurt anyone. I mean, she can't hurt anyone. And she's so small she can get out of anything. So she gets out a lot, but it's not a big deal. And the biggest deal to me is she might get hit by a car. That's what bothers me about my dog getting out. She's never bit anyone in her whole life. Going, I don't know that. I'm like, well, I just told you. Now you do. And people in line were pretty much, they seemed like, I wouldn't say they were 50-50. I'd say they were on my side. About, why are federal employees scared of a tiny dog who doesn't bite? Why would they run from any dog? Like when I gave the instructions, don't run from any dog ever, because if you run from them, they'll chase you. And once they chase you, you have escalated the situation, and now they're excited, right? So you just escalated it. And it's the kind of dog that likes catching things. It'll catch you, guaranteed. So my sister had this. I had a German Shepherd, and we had a litter of puppies from him, and my sister got the biggest one. My sister got the smartest one. This one was big and dumb, but this was a 150-pound German Shepherd, and he stood up on his back legs, and I held his paws, and looked me right in the eye, and I was 6 foot tall. Like when I was a junior in high school, and that was... Dad also got her a pony, a Shetland pony, and she's one of those little princesses, got everything she wanted. And she didn't even want the pony. I took care of her pony. She did. I had a motorcycle. Well, they gave me a horse too, or they made me take care of a horse. So I use it for ag projects and stuff. That dog would get the pony riled up and just run up and clip its back leg, just like put a pit maneuver on the horse. Just drop, stop, drop, and roll. And the dog is just looking at its throat like he says, you see, come here! But yeah, there was the horse was called May, and the dog was called Thunder. I think that was May. May might have been that old white mare that we had over on the farm that we stopped. I mean, it was. Should have sold it to somebody, yes, but we let the hooves grow up into a big hoopy thing, and she just wandered around until she died, and then the ulcerated her. Pretty good life for a horse. She didn't have to do shit. She didn't eat, sleep, shit. Didn't have to do shit. Nothing to eat her. No dogs killed her. No coyotes or wolves. But if I had half a lick of sense back then when I was that young, and my dad just decided that it's like an old car that's sitting over there, you know, it's there for some parts, but then when it's obsolete and there's no parts left on it that you want, just leave it sitting there. And that's kind of what May was like. And should have had the what do they call the horseless barber? Should have had him come out and touch her up, and then just told people, hey, I got a horse for sale. How much you want off? $500? $100? Sweet horse. And she had thoroughbred background. I mean, so, but she wasn't one of those competitive ones. She was not good at the race. She didn't have the fighting spirit that you try to bring into your horses. Your competition horses. And the one they gave me was a retired competition horse. That horse would make me love her. I called mine Hershey. You know, nobody told me what its name was, but it was one of those horses that just was good, but it wasn't good enough for us. And it was annoying. Or maybe it was a retired racehorse. Oh no, I had both. You know, they had me look good. A bunch of horses. It was really horrible. At the time, I didn't understand the philosophy of enjoy the moment that you're in, because those moments were actually amazing. And I was a whiny little bitch about a lot of it. My dad had me working from 5 in the morning until sundown every day. And you know, I didn't like it. And I think it's because of the way he did things made it unpleasant to do the things. If he had been a better parent, I would have been eager to please and do, which I was. I was eager to please a lot, but when he was a perfectionist, nothing was ever good enough. Stop trying. Wow. Working for you for 3 months and you haven't said I've done anything. I don't want to work on it. It sucks. So I go get a job somewhere else. Get a job at this dude's little manufacturing company. He's got a shed and a farm, animals and shit. He got this metal shed, and right next to the door he's got a drill press. And he's got a couple of jigs there and a couple of drill presses. So take a nut and push it up into the jig, pull the drill press down slow enough to not break the damn bit, but fast enough to get a lot of these done in an hour. And then put a collar pin through the hole, bend it over so it doesn't fall out, throw it in the bucket, get another nut. And I told my friend that he's looking for somebody else. So my friend was standing right in front of me. And it was one of the coolest jobs I ever had, because completely mindless, and me and my friend could just talk, and it was like getting paid to hang out with my best friend. The work didn't even matter. I mean, it'd be great if he gave us a stool or something to sit on, but I didn't even get to do that a month, and my dad comes, finds me, and it's a small town. It didn't take long for him to figure it out. It was faster than the internet. And he comes up and says that he needs me to work back at the farm, at his farm. And the dude comes in like, you gotta go. I'm like, what? And like, you're good working. Here, you can pay me. But if your dad needs you, I can't keep you. Let's see what's.
Their car search without a warrant. The court reasoned that a vehicle's mobility, its ability to move around, made it difficult for cops to pin them down. So they said that probable cause alone would be enough. But it's the answer is not black and white, and it hinges specifically on the scenario, which is where most people, including cops, get lost. Take California versus Carney, the landmark Supreme Court case on RVs. Carney was living the dream. This guy was living in an RV in sunny San Diego, but he happened to be dealing a little pot on the side. DE agents tracked Carney, got him outside of his RV, and searched his rig, all without a warrant. Carney argued, hey, you can't search without a warrant. This is my home. The court disagreed. They reasoned by saying, number one, Carney was in a public lot at the time of his being searched. He had, quote, convenient access to the roadway, and his vehicle looked like it was ready to roll. The Supreme Court treated Carney's RV like a car, but they did leave the door open for other scenarios. An RV that's not normal, let's say it's parked long-term, hooked up to utilities, clearly a long-term residence, may provide some Fourth Amendment protection. Now, some state laws go further than this Supreme Court case. For example, in Oregon, in the case of State versus Kurokawa-Lasiak, the state Supreme Court ruled, and I quote, cops need a warrant to search any vehicle, RV or not, unless it's an immediate emergency. That's huge if you're an RV owner in Oregon. But not all state laws provide that extra protection. Now, what if instead of your RV sitting still, what if it's moving right on down the highway? Let's say you're cruising your RV down the highway, headed to Yellowstone, or maybe living the nomadic life. Cops didn't pull you over. Maybe it was a busted taillight. Maybe you failed to use your turn signal. Or maybe they're just fishing for a warrant check or looking to see if you have drugs. They stroll up to your window, knock on your window, want you to roll down the window, and now you can clearly tell they're looking to try to search inside your RV. Now, like we said earlier, when your RV is moving down the road, it's going to likely be treated as a car under the motor vehicle exception. Now, if cops have probable cause, let's say they see a bag of weed sitting in the on the dashboard. Maybe they look in and they see an open bottle of alcohol sitting there wide open. They're not going to need a warrant in order to get into your car because now they have probable cause. But it's certainly not a free-for-all. In order for the cops to get into your RV, whenever they pull you over under the motor vehicle exception, they're going to have to meet all 4 points of the motor vehicle exception. Number one, the probable cause they're claiming must be specific, like I saw something illegal in the Number two, your RV can't be in your curtilage. So within, like, let's say the tax garage of your home, or maybe it's within the fence for your residence at the time. There, they can't search under that example because what are we talking about here? We're talking about that being as protected. Your curtilage is as protected as your home. In order for cops to do a search on curtilage, they're going to have a valid search warrant. Number three, the search must match what they're actually claiming they have probable cause for. So if they're claiming they think you had a stolen TV in your RV, they can't go digging through your drawers. And number four, the RV must be apparently mobile. What that essentially means is the RV has to be capable of being moved. Well, what if you're pulled over on the side of the road because you had a flat tire, or maybe you pulled over? This brings us to the case of U.S. versus Howard. In Howard, the court allowed a stalled car on the side of the road to be searched by the cops, and it met the apparently mobile test here because it was only temporarily disabled because it only needed to be towed where it could then be fixed to allow to be driven. But what if your RV's broken down completely? Maybe you're stranded on I-40 with a blown engine. Legally, it's still mobile. In fact, U.S. versus Steger ruled that a truck with a dead battery on the side of the road was still seen as apparently mobile because it could be moved after a charge. In Steger, the court very heavily emphasized that even a car that needs heavy repairs, extensive repairs, can still be seen as apparently mobile. But here's your edge. If the cops' claim of probable cause to search your RV is pretty shaky, maybe they're just trying to dig both potentially there on the side of the road and certainly in a courtroom, you're refusing consent. So let's try something different. Let's say you're at a festival. Maybe you're at Coachella or Burning Man. Your RV is parked in the lot, but you've been driving it around the ground. Cops roll up with a drug tip. They want inside. Let's apply the Carney test. Is your RV apparently mobile? Yes, it is. You've been driving it around the lot. Does your RV have convenient access to the roadway? Sure, particularly if you're near the exit. Now, if cops now have probable cause, like a pipe in plain view, they're going to get inside your RV. But if it's hooked up to a generator, slides out, and a home sweet home sign sitting out, you might have the law on your side. That brings us to our next scenario. What if your RV is parked and now unmovable? So now let's say your RV is parked on a concrete slab at a friend's farm in Tennessee, hooked up to water and power, propane grill out front, and a welcome mat by the door. You're living there, maybe for weeks. Can cops treat this RV like a car? Not so fast. If it has no convenient access to the roadway, permanent hookups, no valid registration, and you've got a pickup for driving, it's not a vehicle. It's going to be considered your home. Now that's full Fourth Amendment protection. Cops either now need a warrant or they need an emergency situation. In U.S. versus Adams, cops searched an RV in a rural area that was attached to a generator, and they had another car that you could clearly tell they were using for transportation, and there were no immediate roads that were nearby. The court ruled that the RV was now a home, a residence that had Fourth Amendment protection, and they tossed the cops' search as being illegal because they tried to treat it as a car, but they should have given it the Fourth Amendment protection of a home. In People versus Schaefer in California, the court ruled there that an RV in a driveway fixed with utilities, with those permanent hookups, was also considered a home. The key in Schaefer is that the RV had been parked for months. It was clear that it had been sitting there for months, and it was permanently hooked up to the utilities, clearly showing that they were planning on going anywhere. So what if you're at a long-term campsite with blocks under the wheels, slides out, and a patio with string lights? Here, we're still talking about it being your home. But what if it's on a friend's land, or maybe a leased plot? It doesn't matter, because courts are focusing on the setup, not on the ownership. Okay, so if your RV can now be considered your home, what about your truck that's parked nearby? In the Supreme Court case of Collins versus Virginia, the court said that the area immediately surrounding your home is known as curtilage. And anything that's parked in that curtilage area of your home is also protected under the Fourth Amendment, and the cops must have a search warrant. So, if your RV is considered your home now, then your truck that's parked right next to it, or maybe under the carport that's attached right there near it, is going to also be considered curtilage with Fourth Amendment protection. In Collins, cops searched a motorcycle that was under a tarp that was right in the attached area near the home nearby, and the court said that it was a good search because the motorcycle was parked within the curtilage of the home. When you set it up the right way, your RV is now your castle. Lock the door, post a no trespassing sign, and tell them to get lost legally. Okay, our next scenario. You're at your RV, it's parked at a state park. Maybe you have it all hooked up with utilities, water, electricity. And instead of staying inside the RV, you are now staying in a tent nearby, near the RV. Your gear is all spread out all over the place. You have a nice little campfire sitting there in your tent. All of a sudden the cops roll up. Maybe a ranger claims they heard some noise going on, or maybe the cops are just out snooping. Can the cops now search your tent or
This spot, let's go. Come on, let's move over here.
Number one, is my RV hooked up to the utilities? Check. Number two, do I have blocks under the wheels, and am I in a place where this moment where I don't have immediate access to a road? So if I'm pretty secluded back into the state park, not near an immediate roadway, check. Finally, do I have a separate vehicle for transportation, like a truck? Maybe it's a pull-along, right? In that situation, check. That being the case, there's a better chance your RV is going to be treated as your residence, and they're not going to be able to try to treat it as a car under the motor vehicle exception. But what about your tent? That brings us to U.S. versus Gooch. In this Supreme Court case, the court ruled that a tent at a legal campsite has full privacy. guy's tent, after days of camping in Washington, they didn't have a warrant, and the court threw it out. The court said, and I quote, "One should be free to depart the campsite of the day's adventure without fear of this expectation of privacy being violated." In Gooch, the defendant was legally camping in a national forest, and the court saw his tent as his home while he was there. But watch out if you're camping illegally or you're squatting on private land. In Rockus versus Illinois, the Supreme Court ruled that trespassers have no legal privacy rights in places they don't have a legal right to occupy. Now here's another one many people have asked, what about a bull trailer? In U.S. versus Urban, the Supreme Court ruled that a search of a bull trailer was legal under the motor vehicle exception. In other words, you get no Fourth Amendment home.
God, why is it like this? How is this fun for anyone not being able to figure out where the fuck you're supposed to go?
I will make a maze in this shitty map. Alright,
But your tent, you should zip it up, keep it behind it, and if you're camping legally, it is your fortress, and you have Fourth Amendment protection. The court reiterated this rule for your tent in U.S. versus National. In fact, in that case, the court said that if you were camping legally, in that case it was on federal land in a park, then you are now known to have expectation of privacy for the police to just come running around or digging into your tent any more than they can come digging in your home. Think about this next time.
Keep one in touch.
National Forest campsite.
Come on, give me a real challenge.
Oh no.
The RV is considered your home. It's home. Slides around and the tents.
We're finally making progress.
No entry unless they see a crime in plain view. Finally, here's the payoff. Here are the battle-tested 7 tips to stop cops from searching your RV or your tent anywhere, anytime. Number 1, if cops pull over your RV while you're driving down the road, remember to stay calm and in control. You know you have to give the cop your license and your registration because it's required by law.
Go back to the ask him.
It's time to shut down. Officer, I exercise my right to remain silent, and I will not answer any further questions without my attorney present. This simple phrase puts you in the driver's seat, and here's why it works. When cops pull you over, they walk up to your front window and they start talking to you. Your demeanor and how you respond makes an enormous difference in how this is going to turn out. Stay calm, keep your hands on the wheel, and avoid any sudden movements where cops can now claim their officer's safety is at risk and get you out of the other vehicle. You always have a right to remain silent. Officers ask you questions like where'd you come from or where are you going. At this point, you can turn around to the officer and ask him, "Officer, am I free?" Place the officer in a position he doesn't have anything to hold you for, he has to let you go. Number 2, always refuse consent. The officer asks to be consent.
Resources ready.
You say, "Officer, I do not consent to any search." You can be clear, you can be firm, and you can be polite.
I remember how to get out of it.
Consent waives everything, so you must don't judge. You have to understand that consent ends over your photograph. That's a simple matter.
Bustamante.
We learned here cops can be tricky. They can lie to you. Yes. It's optional. So if they start shaking you down, trying to make you feel like, hey, if you got nothing to hide, why wouldn't you let them search your car? Or hey, this is only going to take a few minutes. I don't want this to get worse for you. You have to understand, cops can lie to you in this situation. They're allowed to trick you in this situation. So regardless of what the officer says, always refuse consent to a search. Refusing consent doesn't stop a search if police have probable cause already. But refusing consent gives you the opportunity to challenge the search later in court if the cops did something wrong. Literally practice this out loud. I tell my clients this. To
I gotta take that
I do not
downward
consent.
route.
I even thought about getting t-shirts that say, I do not consent. Number 3, make your RV. If you have your RV parked, set up utilities, put pin locks over, set up camp, put awnings over, even put out a trailer box. Take these actions, courts will see a home, not a man. Take these actions, you're not just camping, fortify your fortress. If you don't want cops looking through the windows of your RV, lock your doors, close your blinds, no plain view freebies. And here's the strategy. Courts decide on whether your RV is a home based on its setup, not who actually owns it. In U.S. versus Ludwig, an RV that was parked was considered to be more of a home than a car, and in fact the court said that there was an indicia of habitation. So always connect to electricity.
It's not raining.
Sewage.
It is
Drop the
raining.
jacks, extend the slides, and roll out. Put out a grill and put out some chairs on top. Anything that swings.
That's how I live my life. Yeah.
You have your RV set up like a home. When a cop comes to your RV to clear his office, that's no longer him trying to get into your RV. This is nothing more than a knock and talk. And remember, we talked about this on previous videos. When a cop comes to
Oh, it almost got out the hand flip.
the concept of privilege.
Shut yourself off!
Where's the fucking game? Oh my shit.
Or privately marked on your area. That's what we consider undercover action. So the cops can't come up and start snooping around and looking at your truck or your car. For RVs,
We've been trained to
even if
handle
it's not
anything.
an RV, maybe you're there visiting a friend of yours that has an RV. Park within the fence
What is it,
line
Mick?
near their RV.
What is it, girl?
That's going to be considered cool. Or maybe it's a private lot. Park at or near the area that would be considered the home or the residence, or maybe even the tent. If you're near the tent, park your vehicle right near the tent because it has the same protections and Fourth Amendment privacy rights as your home. In Florida versus Jardines, the court ruled that no curtilage is safe. They wanted to allow a drug dog to walk
Changing mags!
and let the officers know, I do not consent to you coming within this area of my campsite and is now considered my residence. I do not consent to a search or to you entering this area. Now, in Hester versus United States, the courts did say that curtilage does not work in public lots or open fields, but on private ground or a defined
Let the gas flow! One more win for the Federation!
Copy, squad leader.
rights, your Fourth Amendment rights in
I don't
that
have to do this again, do I?
Number 5, always use campsite power for your RV. If you're hooked up to utilities at a park and cops come up to your RV, don't open the door. Just talk through the door and ask the officer if he has to. If he doesn't, say, officer, I do not consent to you. I mentioned U.S. versus Nooch earlier because in that case, the court really saw the actual hookup of the power to your RV as a bit of a game changer and to help establish that it was more of a residence and a home than a car. Number 6, if you're camping, turn
Impressive
your
work.
tent into
Your
a
squad
fortress.
knows how to use a
At
hammer,
legal
so let's
campsite,
find you a
if
new
cops show
nail.
up, you
Sending
can
you to
step
the
out of your
latest
tent,
hot
set
zone.
it up,
Bug activity
and
is
say,
high there,
"Officer,
and
I
they
do
need to
not
get a
consent
taste of
to
what
a
the
search."
SOG can
Your
dish
tent
out.
at a legal campsite is your home away from home, and the Supreme Court says you can own it. In fact, to expound on this, in the court case of Stoner versus
pretty
California,
cool.
the court said that your privacy interest in a tent is very similar to the same
Been to
privacy
X11
interest
yet?
you have
Well, I'm
in a
booking you a
hotel.
ticket to help clear a
Most
small
people go
bug hole,
home as they
so we
don't
can
sit
mine
with
for
their tent.
value.
Maybe
Don't
the
like
tent is
crawling
there
up
in the
Archie's
foxhole,
ass sniffing
wanna
for
get in
gas?
the cops
Then
are
take it
gonna
out on those
they're gonna
bugs,
walk in and they're
trooper.
just gonna look inside, and anything they see in plain view, they can now claim they have a right to enter into the tent, potentially based upon that probable cause, and now they're able to search your tent. So remember, always camp legally. Zip up your tent, lock it down, and you will have Fourth Amendment privacy protection. Finally, number 7, always know your specific state laws. States like New Mexico and Oregon require cops to actually have a search warrant to do any of this stuff. They can't just rely on the old federal rules. Always remember, federal rules, federal laws are the floor. They're the most basic rights that you have. But different states actually add to it and create a higher ceiling of additional privacy rights you can receive, which is why you should know your state laws, your state constitutional rights, and don't ever assume that your cops that you're dealing with in that situation know what they are. If you arm yourself with your laws and your rights, you'll know how to stand up for those rights and make sure you never consent and make sure that you protect yourself if cops overstep their boundaries. And finally, bonus tip, if cops ignore your laws and they try to search you, do not physically resist. Instead, just report the entire action. Repeat, I do not consent. Make it very clear so that you're protecting yourself if the cops are overstepping your boundaries. And remember, when you have your RV or your tent is treated as your home with those same Fourth Amendment protections, under the case of French versus Maryland, if cops ignore your rights, they may lose their qualified immunity, and you may have a Section 1983 federal lawsuit, civil rights lawsuit, you may be able to bring to hold the police accountable if they violate your constitutional rights. So there you have it, your guide to stop cops from searching your RV or your tent, forged from real state and
Rock on, bro. Thank you.
But what if cops pull you over and they start using those tricks we talked about earlier? Legal tricks on you during the traffic stop. Check out this next video where I break down how to stop cops from tricking you during a traffic stop. I'll break it all down. See you over there.
Oh no!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back.
All right, well here we go.
We're going to put that warning recording information on the company advised.
Yeah, but those cops in Texas, they tore the car apart. They found this one of those little waterproof match containers that I used camping, and I had a little bud, maybe not even half a gram probably. It was really kind bud, and that's why I had it. Just a little piece off of that would get me happy, you know? And I was trying to smoke a little for work. I had that thing, and they did probably see me smoking a pipe, and I pulled the little thing that goes around the gear shift lever, pulled that up, stuck the pipe under it, and clicked it back in place. Because I'm a mechanic, I've done this shit before, and so I knew what to do. So, I mean, that's what I did. If they found it, they found it. Another good idea is if you have one of those giant drinks, like a 44-ounce big gulp or some shit, you just drop your pipe in there. Dogs can't smell it. If you have Coke in there, the Coca-Cola will clean your pipe. It'll ruin your Coke. You won't be able to drink it. Though maybe you can. I couldn't. But the pipe's nice and clean. You know, rinse it off, dry it out, good to go. But Coca-Cola will clean a pipe. And they don't find my pipe. But they find that little silver thing. It had fallen. I dropped it, or it had fallen out somewhere, and it rolled around and was under the passenger seat. I don't know how it got there, which is my bad. You should always know where your shit is. Oh, I hadn't found that thing for days. I just had a bowl in my pipe. Well, I should have had a bowl for going home. But yeah, I think I'd lost that thing, and I hadn't seen it for a while. And they find it. And they're like, what's this? I'm like, I told you my dad has cancer, and I'm driving his car. You know cancer is good. Weed is good for cancer patients. I'm like, yeah, but you're not a cancer patient. You know, what do you want to do? They said, we're going to keep this, and we're going to charge you with possession of paraphernalia. Well, paraphernalia is not even, I mean, it's not even a real charge. It's just a ticket. So, all right, do what you got to do. They smelled that shit, and they're like, God damn, it smells like evergreen trees and happiness. And they went and smoked my shit. I know they did. They were really happy to get that. And it wasn't, It wasn't worth it. It was such a tiny amount. It wasn't. And cops are weird. You never know what you're going to get. Well, I got these guys in Austin. Well, just north of Austin. I missed my exit like a dumbass. So I'm coming back down, trying to get to Hillary's house. This girl I dated named Hillary. And on my way back down, I'm going through this little town because I got off the interstate. Instead of going back down the interstate to the exit, I turned right instead of left because I want to smoke a bowl and just, I mean, turning left would be easier because I had to go, if I got back on the interstate, I go way past the house and then come back up to get to the exit. And this way I could just take the exit, you know, just a couple of, it's just a little ways down the road. And I get stuck in a line of traffic at this stop sign. It's an intersection that has a four-way stop, and there's 30 cars in it because it really needs a stoplight. But this is a small-ass Texas town. So I'm going through it, and there's this cop sitting on the side, over there on the left-hand side, and it's a really short, fat Mexican dude. And I'm like, oh, god damn it, nothing like a short, fat Mexican cop. And so I look over at my radio. I push my pipe back into the little cubby that's under the radio. And put it behind. I had a little pipe holder, which is these little puffy cases that you put your one-hitters in or whatever, so when you drop them, they don't break. And, you know. So when you stick your hand in the cubby, I mean, it's way back in there, and you feel that puffy little sack, and it feels like part of the car. It doesn't feel like a glass pipe, right? So I stick that in there, and I look back over at the guy, and I get in front of him, he pulls in behind me, and this is mine actually when I put the thing in. Then he hits his lights. So I pull over, and he's all there. How he pulled me over at a stop sign. He said, I saw you stashing something in your dash. I'm like, I was changing the radio station. I mean, they're 2 inches away. The cubby under the radio and the radio itself, 2 inches. There's no way he could be sitting in his car over there and know which one I was fucking with. So I'm like, now, I didn't know my rights very well back then. I mean, like, I'm going to search your car. I'm like, no. Well, why not? I don't know. No, I don't give you consent to search my car. They searched my car. He found my pipe. And 3 other cops come out there. It was probably the whole entire police force for this little town. And in my disc golf bag, I had the little tiny marker disc that you put on the green. You know, the marker where your disc is. It's kind of like a whole, and they're just little gimmicks. But one of them that I had was smaller than the other one, and they fit together perfectly. And I kept a bud stashed in there, and I had all my discs together, and then I had my these little discs in the back pocket. I had 3 or 4 of them, but the cop noticed the 2 discs stuck together and opened them, and he bent them open so much that he broke one of them, like snapped it in half, and I didn't mention that. They asked me if I had any weapons. I said, I've got a pocket knife in my left pocket, which was, yeah, so there's been a whole lot like that, right? Everybody's got one of those. And, takes that out, and I don't remember if they handcuffed me or not. But then they started saying, well, down in Austin, this kind of possession is not a big deal, but when you come up here, it's a felony. And any usable amount is a felony. 1 seed is a felony. And I'm like, yeah, because I work for the Travis County Sheriff's Department, and I know that they will pull people over in Austin that are heading north, and they find a little weed on them, and be like, don't worry about it. They let them go, and then they call up north to this town. Say, hey, there's this car, this color, with these people in it, and they got weed. Instead of getting pulled over in Austin and, oh, you're half ounce, your quarter ounce, whatever, here's a $100 fine. They go up there and like, boom, you're a felon. Because the cops call up there and tell them, you're coming. Hey, I just pulled this car over, found this weed in it. Pull them over. Whatever janky shit you can imagine, they're up to it. They're not on our side. They protect and serve the government, not the people. And that's their job. I mean, don't bust balls because they're doing their job, but just understand they will lie, cheat, and steal and do everything to get an advantage at their job, because this being a free country and us having amendments and rights, they have a lot less privilege to abuse than in a lot of countries. So they take advantage of everything. There's it's like people. You got 89% of people are just great. 99% of people are just great. And then you've got the murderers, rapists, pedophiles, thieves, just hardly any, obviously, because there's 350 million people in this country, and there's not anarchy everywhere. There's 50,000 people in this town, and most of the problems are lost dogs. Shut up. Oh, it has started raining. I think it started raining. Oh, I was going to go outside and clean my sandals. BBL. Good luck, have fun, and